I got a question on my YouTube channel where this individual was like, Steve, please help me. Please help me. My business is struggling. I can't get off my feet. I'm going to have to go back to working for a business, working for somebody else. Can you please help me? I've bought courses from people. I've had people coach me. I've done everything that I thought was possible, everything that I thought that I needed to do, and I'm still not having any success with my business. I'm struggling. I'm fighting with my spouse. I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I said, okay, this is what you should do, and I wanted to make a video about it because I think that maybe some of you may be experiencing this same situation or problem with your business. The first thing that I want to make clear, just so we can frame the inside of this picture frame of what we're going to be discussing in this short video, is that I'm going to make assumptions. Here go the assumptions that must be made before I move forward with telling you exactly how I've been able to do it over the last 37 years. I've been on my own as a business owner, my wife and I, since 1990. So I would believe that someone who left their job in 1990, February of 1990, and now it's 2027, that individual would be able to assist you and give you some information on what you should do to be able to first get your business to where it's making money, and then be able to do more, because you don't just have a business to work yourself to death. The business is supposed to give you freedom. But first, I think that most people who find themselves struggling in their business will feel good if they could just get their business from not struggling. And the ups and downs of business, from what I went throughout business, is you're going to have ups and downs, and I'm going to explain to you one of the most important key aspects of what you can do to turn your business around. So first, let's lay this frame, is that first, I'm believing that you have a business that people do want the product or service. Because if people don't want the product or service, it doesn't matter what information you get, doesn't matter what advice, it doesn't matter how much money you have for that business, it's going to go out of business. I just was reading about a car place that was, I forget the name of it, but they were trying to compete with Auto Trader and all of these different, well, not Auto Trader, they were trying to compete with Carvana, and you would think people want to buy cars, but they didn't understand how people wanted to buy cars. And we're going to get into that in a second. But that's the first thing, is, do you have a business that people want to buy your product or service? I'm making the assumption that you do. The next one, which is very important, is probably the most important. Do you really want to do your business? Over the years, what I found when I was, I've had my first successful business under my belt, is that I started to do other types of business opportunities. And one of them was in network marketing. And my wife and I made a very successful network marketing business, but guess what? I didn't want to do it. Regardless of how much money we were making, I did not want to do it. And I have my own reasons. It's not because network marketing isn't a good business. It's just that I did not want to do network marketing, and we were out of that business. The company itself ran into trouble, but even before that, we would have sold and got out of that business at some point. So I'm believing that you are in a business that you want to be in, not just because you want to make money. You really want to do that business, because that's very important. The next thing that I want to do is, I'm going to tell you with just those two there. There's more things, but those are the two most important for right now. Is the business that people are actually in is the advertising business. The business that all of us are actually in as business owners, the first business, or you could say a department of our business, is the advertising business. I know with social media, you got TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, you got YouTube, all these different platforms. You can post videos and do all of that stuff. And you know, no advertising budget. I'm just going to bring in people. They're going to see what I got to offer. They're going to buy my products. And what happens with most people, almost 99.99999% of the people, none of that stuff will work. And it's, even if it did work a little bit, it doesn't give you consistency with your business. So you actually end up being dependent on something that you have no control over. And I'm here to tell you that that's the worst position to put your business in. So think about it this way. A lot of people, they'll be like, Steve, I got word of mouth. And I say, well, when that mouth wakes up on the wrong side of the bed and someone asks them about your business or something, they may not explain it the way that you want them to explain it. And even if they were, they just finished doing some, you just finished doing some work for them, and then they started to talk about your business, are they going to talk about in your business the way that you need it to be talked about? What if that individual's situation is different than the one that was doing the talking? See, a whole bunch of problems can come up with the word of mouth. Whenever someone asks me, they're like, Steve, can we refer people to you? I say, yes, you refer them to us. You don't say nothing but this is a good company, because everyone's situation is going to be different. Now, depending on, what type of business you're in, you might have a restaurant, or you might be an attorney, you might be a plumber. Sometimes the word of mouth is utilized to be like a bridge for trust. But still, even with that word of mouth and all of that, you can see from reviews, pick an attorney in your area, pick a plumber in your area that this company has been around for a long time. They do excellent work, and you'll still see reviews in there where people were complaining about something. And that's because everybody's situation is a little bit different. We're all individuals. So now, understanding that we are all in the advertising business, like no matter what business we're in, if we cannot put a system together to bring people to see what we had to offer, you might as well say the clock is ticking to put your business out of business. No matter how much money you have, that car company that was online car company that was buying cars, they had millions of dollars. They had millions of dollars from investors. I think it was upwards of $25 million, and they went out of business. So, it does not matter how much money you got if those two things that I just talked about are not true. And then also that you are not figuring out a process to be able to bring people to see what you had to offer. Now, because most people, and I've had this conversation with one of my, when I used to do consulting and advertising for attorneys, and there was an attorney, local attorney, new young guy out of college, and he wanted to just, make his mark. He didn't really want to have to work for anyone. He wanted to, or he had to go work for someone, and then he said, like in a year or two, he's going to be on his own. He's going to just go out on his own. And he was like, Steve, I'm having a hard time getting customers. And he's like, I went to school, I got the education, I got everything, but they didn't teach me how to get customers. And he said he took some marketing classes, and he was like, this stuff, when he put it into action, it really didn't bring customers. And then I said, okay, well, let me do this. I wrote down on a piece of paper, and I put 3 boxes. And he was like, what are these 3 boxes for? And I was like, we're going to fill in these 3 boxes, because these 3 boxes are going to be the solution to your business. It's going to solve all the problems with your business. And to back this up, I've been doing this method since 1990, And yes, it has graduated up to being something different because the internet was not out then, but I've changed that over, that same system and process, and it's actually a lot easier now with the internet, with computers and all the software and the applications that are available. It's a lot easier now, but people don't put in the time to really do what it takes to make it work. So on those 3 boxes, this is what I said. In box number 1, we're going to pick a platform out of all of these platforms that are out there for you to advertise on. We're going to pick a platform. And I said, because you are new, you do not have the history, you do not have the quote unquote reviews or people that have been clients of yours individually as your company. People are not going to trust you. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to do lead generation advertisement. It's like, what is lead generation advertisement? That's where you're going to place your ad, video ad or image ad, and you're going to place it on one of the advertising platforms, and just pick one. Don't get greedy because you're learning during this process. And you're going to run an ad, and when you keep running that ad, and you're going to run that ad until you are generating leads from that ad. And he was like, well, Steve, how do I know if the ad is working? You know the ad is working from people who leave their information for you to follow up with them. And he was like, well, why don't I just throw my ad out there and people will see my website and see what I had to offer, and then they're going to call me for help. And I was like, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And he was like, why doesn't it work that way? Because number 1, people are skeptical. You are skeptical listening to me. You are skeptical. Think of all of the different things and opportunities and stuff and resources and information that's out there. Still, with all of that, you are skeptical. You're probably skeptical of this video. If I was to ask you right now, pay me $1,000 for me giving you information on how to advertise your business that's going to save your business, you would be skeptical. So what I do with all of my stuff with my businesses is I just go straight from the bat. I believe everybody's skeptical. So if I believe everybody is skeptical, that's going to help me get to my outcome, because my outcome, or the processes to get to my outcome, is going to deal with skepticism. It's going to deal with what that person must be thinking to make them skeptical about my business. It could be a number of things. And the first thing that you're going to do when you start to do lead generation advertising is that you're going to figure out, when you get to talk to people, what is, when you're talking to them, they're going to tell you the things that they're skeptical about with dealing with you with your business. But if you're just advertising, having people go to your website, you're not going to get to that answer. You're not going to get to it. You're just going to spend a whole bunch of money, get a whole bunch of clicks, and that's it. Nothing. So you're going to run an ad. How do you know that ad is working? Because people will click that ad. How do you know that people from that ad is working? You're going to, when they click that ad, they're going to opt in to give you their information. If people are clicking your ad and they're not opting in to get your information, you need to make your ad better. Lesson number 1. If you make an ad and people are not clicking it, you got to change the ad immediately. If you're making an ad and people are not opting in, you got to fix the reason in the ad to get people to opt in. Most people are trying to hook the fish before the fish has swallowed the bait. That's what I call it. When you're advertising, you're fishing. Advertising is fishing for people who are interested in what you have to offer. So for the people, when you accomplish number 1, running an ad, generating leads, the next step, when you're with those leads that you generate, you need to do what I call know, like, and trust. Follow-up process. Text, email. It could even be having live chat or AI implemented into your follow-up processes. The reason why you want to do that is because people are not going to give you their money unless they know, like, and trust you. Yes, Some businesses survive. Some businesses survive, but we're not trying to be in survival mode. We're trying to be in the thriving mode, prosperous mode, not the survival mode for our business. So when people become a lead and they opt in, it gives you the opportunity to give them information about how you've helped other people. And when they look at how you've helped other people, if you have images of those individuals or just stories of how you help those people, they will see themselves, they will interject themselves into the story. Why do people interject themselves into a story that has nothing really to do with them? That's somebody else. Because all of us as humans only really care about ourselves. So even if you're talking about someone who you were able to help, what they start to do is they start to put themselves into that person's spot, kick them out, and they start to imagine if what they decide to do with your company, if they take action with it, that maybe it can help. But people don't get to that by just making a click and going to your website. Every individual is going to come to that realization on their own time. Some people make snap decisions. Some people have to hear it over and over and over again. They call that the convincer strategy, where a person will ask you the question, and I would tell my sales reps this. I said, don't change what you say back to them. If they're asking you the same question, but they're just asking a different way, you get them the same answer. The reason why is because their own mind has their own process to get them to a belief level. Some people instant, some people have to go around. Some people just don't make snap decisions. They just don't make snap decisions. No matter what, you can, even if they cycle and they're like, I got the answers, they're still going to make sure that they run it through their mind without any type of pressure on them before they make a decision. Now, understand what we've just done, though. What I've just given you is the key to unlocking money in your business. Because if you've got their information, and I'm pretty sure you've experienced this before. Have you ever went to a department store and they said, well, can we get your email so you can get some discounts from us? We all do it, especially if it's at a store that we really, visit and frequent a lot. We're going to go ahead and give it to them. And we're just like thinking of it on a level of, yeah, I'm going to get that so I can always get, discounts or alerts or whatever. But what you're not understanding, and I learned this a long time ago, is that once you do that, you're on their playground. And when you do it for your business and you collect information from people, they're on your playground. You can send them offers. You can test different offers. You can send them information. You can even ask them, and I suggest doing this, ask them why they didn't buy. Ask them why they didn't buy your product or service. And they will tell you. You could say, I'm not trying to sell you anything. This will just help me be able to help other people. And I would appreciate your feedback. And you could even give them something for free. On one of my products, I gave a huge discount. It was half price off. And I said, tell me why you didn't buy it. And people were giving me, reasons that I never thought about. And the reason why I never thought about them is because I think my product and my services are perfect. As the business owner, we think our restaurant is perfect. We think our attorney services are perfect. Our plumbing services are perfect. We think that everything that we do are perfect. Why do we think that way? I gave you that answer earlier, because we really only care about ourselves. It's very hard to critique ourselves, even though you should critique yourself. I get critiqued a lot by my family, and it's for good, not for bad. So when you do that, they're on your playground, and you will start to learn what most business owners don't either want to go through or don't want to listen to or don't want to even find out is, why are your people who are potentially interested in doing business with you not buying your product or service? So now that's box number 2. And remember, you could do the follow-up with email, live chat, directly to live chat, directly to AI, directly to email follow-up. Now, number 3. And number 3, when I figured out number 3, I started having people sign up and pay me money in my sleep. I call it making money in your sleep. Now, I know that some businesses can't do this, but it still enhances the conversions on box number 3. Box number 3 is your sales page or appointment page that you would have on your website. So all of the follow-up emails, texts, the chats, everything, the AI, it will all funnel to that page. If you're an insurance agent and you need them to set an appointment with you, it's going to go to your appointment page. If you're selling a product or service like I do, where they can actually buy it without talking to anybody, it's going to send them to that page. Now, how do you think I made that page better? Because what every business does, I don't care, best copywriter, whoever it is, what they're going to do on designing a sales page for a product or service, they're just going to go with what they believe people want to see, hear, and explain and demonstrate about the product or service. And that's logical. But how can you make that better? Because most sales pages convert under 1%. Most under 1%. Or even for appointment pages, I'm not talking about leads, I'm talking about appointments where people are going to kind of make a little type of a commitment or a sale, which is that's a full commitment, is about 1%, less than 1%. And the way to get that up, this is what I've learned. And on some of my sales pages, on some days have hit as high as 15 to 20%. And let me tell you the reason why. And this is of the leads who go to see that offer for what's being sold. Is because from the communications that I had when I would send out emails to my list that was on my playground, that opted in from my ad, I would ask them why they didn't buy. Or from the questions that people would reply back with, or when my sales reps would talk to people and they would say, this is what, maybe something wasn't clear. Maybe they thought, like one of my sales reps on a new offer that we had, he said people were thinking that they would never be able to talk to anybody. And guess what I did on the sales page, on the checkout page? I put in big words. You will be able to talk to someone either by phone or by email or by chat. That's simple. That's simple. And people, were that had that question in their mind, it was answered. And the only way you get to that is if you have people that you're going to be able to ask those questions of. But if people are just going to your website and seeing your offer and they're like, go to your website, you're not going to get those answers because you're not capturing any information. No leads. So that is my simple 3-step solution to turn your business around. It does not matter what type of business you're in. If you have a restaurant, this will turn your restaurant around. To tell you a quick story, one of my business associates has a restaurant. He was like, Steve, it's always slow at this time. People come for lunch, people come for dinner. He was like, if I could just get the business up at this time, I would be happy. And I said, well, what are you doing to advertise your business? He said, I'm just running magazine ads and, trying some posting on Facebook and stuff like that. And I was like, are you doing any lead generation? And I was like, how much money have you spent on ads? He was like, I spent a couple of $1,000. And I said, how many leads did you generate? He said, none. But I'm hoping that I did get some business from that. And I was like, okay, maybe you did. But let's look at it this way. What if you spent $2,000, the $2,000 that you spent, and let's say that it cost you $2 per lead. How many leads would you have gotten? So we're going to divide that by 2. He would have had 1,000 leads. 1,000 name, email, phone number. He doesn't know, restaurants don't need to call them, but what would you do if you had 1,000 leads in your restaurant and it's slow during a certain period of each day? It is very slow. What would you do with those 1,000 leads? What I told him to do is I said you would be able to email right before that time or a little bit before or even early in the morning and say, during this period of time, we have an extra special deals for people who come in or place their order online. And here's the coupon right in the email box. You can send that out with text also. And that would solve that problem. See, the thing that people do not understand, and I learned this lesson a long time ago, is that they are in your playground. So let's just say that he spends $2,000 a month, because he's going to spend money on advertising his business. So let's say that he spends $2,000 a month on his advertising for his business, and he was getting $2 a lead, all the time, averaging $2 a lead. After 1 year, he'd have 12,000 people on his list. What do you think he would be able to do with 12,000 people on his list? And he says, I want to get more business in the gap between after lunch and before dinner. With 12,000 people who opted in to get specials from his restaurant and in his area, what do you think his business would be like with 12,000 people that he sent that email blast to, that he sent that text blast to? What difference would it make with his business? That's what I hope you get from this video, because it's made a difference with my business. No matter what, I always do lead generation advertisement 365 days a year. I advertise on holidays. I advertise all the time for my businesses. We generate leads. Only time we turn off the ads is when one of my businesses, we have to kind of catch up and we just can't take customers the way that we can take with my other business. That's the only reason why, because there's a longer onboarding process with that business. But with my other businesses, I could, scale them and just keep bringing in customers, keep making sales, keep making sales. And the way that I do that is go by the list. When business gets slow, or if, something seems to not be right with the business, I can email out people that are on that list. They were interested in that product or service. I can offer specials or whatever. It's just that they're in our playground. And also another thing is, let's just say that here, this is what I want to say, is that most businesses will not do what I just told you to do. So this will also help you stand out against your competition, because they're going to know, like, and trust you. One of the things that I had learned when I was sending out those emails and people would just read them, open them, they wasn't always taking action. And then later, when they decided to take action, they were like, I took action because you kept sending me an email. Even though the email was automated, they were just like, I just felt that what you had to offer was what I was looking for. It's just like when you meet someone for the first time and then you see them over and over and over and over and over again, you start to be like, this is my friend. And when I first started doing this, I was amazed that to see someone over and over again in person, to speak to someone over and over again over the phone, to email someone over and over again through email, to text back and forth with someone over and over again by text. that the human mind does not make any difference. People believe and start to know people based on the level that they're interacting with. So if you are struggling with your business, I recommend that you rewind this video and take the information that I just gave you and see if you could put it into action. And thank you for your time. Subscribe to my channel. This is Stephen A. Williams with Making Money with Stephen A. Williams on YouTube.